Okay, everyone, so this is a warning. If you do not like camp stoves or you don't get into watching camp stoves burn or getting information for them, I'm going to let you know now. Come to the next video because I'm going to dig into this stove a little bit. Oh boy. What's this? Recently, I was just asked to look at this gasification stove from a company called TEKL or TEKL. It's TEKL Outdoors. Of course, it's one of those beautiful Chinese companies, right? But you know, sometimes their stoves surprise us, and sometimes we're not so sure how they hit us. But I figured, you know what the heck? Let's go ahead and take a look at this stove. So let me show you guys what they sent me. And I'm going to show you guys what other gasification stoves I have, and we will kind of compare them a little bit. So this stove was cool because you could use it like this, which was wide, or push it down and it stopped, which was for the really itty bitty small, like a cup. So this is a really cool stove. 11 bucks. I don't even know if they offered on Amazon. If they do, I'll show you a picture here. And if not, you get the gist. But 11 bucks back in the day. This is actually Keegan's stove. This isn't really my stove, but it's in our stove collection. And then another gasifier stove that I have is the Silverfire Scout, which is really similar to that, except for it has this really heavy duty pot stand on top of it, but it essentially flips over. This guy comes out, ash pan goes up, same thing, goes over top, and then you put this guy in one of these MSR pots like this. And then you essentially have a complete cook system. So that was the whole claim to fame for the Silverfire Scout stove. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, there's one part of the stove that I'm completely let down with. So TEKL or TEKL, you need to fix this because this isn't good, especially if you're sending me a stove to review. If I would have paid for this stove, I would have been a little upset. So let's show you guys this stove. Bag that it came with is really, really nice. It's very thick, really heavy duty. It will definitely protect your stove if that's where you are. Solo stove, if you guys know, they just come in a bag with a drawstring on top of them. Not really protecting your stove, but this stove has something a little bit different that these stoves don't have, and I'm going to show you guys that in just one moment. So here it is. Let me show you. It is very, very similar to the Solo stove, but it is it's like in between the Titan and the traditional Solo stove. Oh, I also have, you know, I'm sitting here showing you all these stoves. I didn't even think to show you, I have one of the original cats right here, Bush Buddy. Right there, look at that guy, beautiful stove. One of the hands down best gasification stoves you can get there on the market. This is phenomenal. Super, super lightweight, just so you're aware. Bush Buddy. If you don't know, you do now. So, back to the stove. It's very, very, very in between. I mean, good Lord, if you didn't know that this was a TEKL or a TEKL, you would not have known, right? You wouldn't have thought anything. But here's where the stove gets a little bit different, and that's what we're going to look at. I'm going to compare it just for all purposes here with the Titan. One of my more favorite stoves because of the size. So I can see how this stove would really draw to people because it's in between the regular Solo stove, Bush Buddy, and a larger Titan. It's a really good fit. It's really good size. Here is the pot stand. Very nice, very heavy duty. Very similar to what is on top of the Titan. Let me bring you in here. Actually, I'll take the two tops off. I wonder. It's just a hair smaller than the Titan. So when you look at them, the rise is about the same. The pot stands reach in to the same inside diameter. This is a little bit wider, but honestly, to tell you the truth, it's made well. It's got 3 tack welds on it. It's put together good. It actually has more tack welds on it than the Solo stove does. So that's heavy duty. They both have a rolled lip right there. If you care about something like that, very similar. Very, very similar. So this is a nichrome on the inside. This, you know what toaster wire is, where it's really, really hot? That's what they use on the inside of Solo stove. This stuff right here, I should have probably shaken that out a little bit. This is the same wire that they use inside of toasters, so it can get really, really hot and really helps with airflow. This stove on the inside is a little bit different. It's just punched stainless. So the ash pan, even though it's double walled with, so it'll gasify, it's punched stainless steel instead. So that is very, very similar to like how these guys are made right here. Look at the inside of them. Even though they're deeper, they have punched steel. So for those of you who are curious about these stoves that break down versus the Solo stoves, these do have a deeper burn chamber than like the Solo stoves. Just so you're aware. The burn chamber pretty much takes up the whole stove. Solo stove, they're fairly shallow, the same as the Bush Buddy, they're shallow. This guy's fairly shallow. Enough about that. I just wanted to show you guys some of the similarities and some of the differences between the 2 types of gasification stoves that I own that are like this. Now I'm going to show you guys something that I really don't like about this stove. Now, there's one flaw with the stove, which is not the company's fault. It was damaged in shipping. They had this stove wrapped up like no other, but the package did get damaged. On the very bottom here, it does have a slight bend in it right here. You can see that with the light. Not a huge deal, not a game breaker. Oh, so that does lead me to another point with this stove. Solo stove, completely flat bottom, has this really nice kind of rolled edge a little bit right here. See that? This stove is pressed together, so on the bottom, it actually has a lip, almost like a coffee can. So we'll see how that works out. It doesn't sit completely flat. So it's a really, really pretty design. It's got a great logo on there, right, until you look closer. This logo is coming off. You see that? See how it's coming off? It's coming off right here. So I didn't notice it until I put it in the bag. See this little line right here? See how that should be a dash like that? It's not exactly like it moves. It moves around. Spin it all the way around if we want, I guess. But it's glue. This wall shouldn't get too hot, but what I think is going to happen is the stove is going to get hot, and all this... Sorry, I got owls and birds outside. All this stuff right here is going to melt off, but we're going to see. We're going to go burn it. I'm going to break this up. This is a top light updraft stove, so I'm going to fill the chamber up with twigs. But I'm only going to fill it up to where the holes are for the secondary flame for the gasification. So I'm only going to fill the chamber up about that far. I don't want to go over those holes because those are jets. So we'll keep on doing that. Yep, the whole stove is gasifying now. So working the stove is easy, feeding the stove is easy, which, I I mean, it's a fairly generic style gasifier with, you know, really similar qualities and attributes to other stoves out there. I'm mesmerized by it, and my water's still boiling. Let's get some tea, huh? If you know it or not, this temperature right here where the coals are sitting there, and it's just idly burning, it is still really hot up here. This is a perfect temperature for toasting bread. Looks like while the stove is still hot, I can probably just pop these letters off. Yep. Just a metal sticker. I bet you if I take some Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, that'll wipe right off the glue. We'll try that when it cools down. The logo. Why? To each his own, and I think that we all make mistakes, and this was definitely a marketing and a manufacturing mistake. More marketing than manufacturing. They probably marketed it this way and stuck it on in the process of it. So marketing wise, look, you guys contacted me, asked me if I'd use this stove. No problem. I'd love to use a stove. Like, threaten me with a good time, right? However, this is a no-go. Etch your label on here. It will be perfect. You do a burn on the stove, the label's going to come off. Just use a stick and knock it off. It's worth 40 bucks. I mean, I think it is. I really do. Just knowing that going into it, I would have been okay with. It was just an unpleasant surprise to see that it was snagging. The case is great. The case is super thick and heavy duty. Even knowing that label would come off with push came to shove. But if there are other options out there in the same price point and the same size of this, and I didn't have to deal with this, and it would cost me the same price, I'd go with the other option. But I am impressed by this stove. It's solid. Every bit as solid as a Solo stove. Every bit. Now, again, does not have the nichrome wire. It has punched stainless steel burn chamber. But I didn't know a bit of difference. Notice any difference. Gasified like that. And if you guys like stoves and you enjoyed the video, I appreciate it. And if stoves aren't your thing, thanks for sticking around. And yeah, thank you. Logo came right off with Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and a Scotch Brite pad. A little greeny. So, yeah.